Hey guys, what's up? Serena here from thriftiving.com, and I literally was this close to not filming any of this. And I thought, well, Serena, you've been showing them the fire pit, the ferns that you're planting, everything I'm doing around the outdoor for the outdoor overhaul makeover. I can't build raised garden beds and not show you, right? So I decided to get the camera out. You know why I didn't want to do it? Because it's hot, it's sticky. I'm sure you see my shirt. Look, you can see the imprint of my boobs on my shirt because it's so hot out. It's like 90 degrees. But this is too good not to share. So let me explain to you what I'm doing. Last year I built these really cool wall hanging planters, and surprisingly things didn't die. So this year I decided I was going to go bigger, better, and I was going to do some larger garden beds. Well, if you want instructions on these, just watch the other video down below in the link or click that button. But if you're going to do this, whether wall hanging or garden beds, you got to use cedar. It's really the only thing that's going to help your garden last for the years to come. And I also used some garden stakes and some clamps because I wanted this to be nice and rectangular and not crooked. Now you will need to use some power tools for this project. You don't have to use a miter saw, but you can use a circular saw or a jigsaw. Look below for the instructions on how to use a jigsaw. Okay, so now to assemble this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the size of the boards that I used because you can really make these garden beds whatever size you want to. Mine ended up being 8 foot by 3 foot. But the thing I want to point out to you is that you want to make sure that they are square. Otherwise, they'll be a little wonky. So I mentioned before that I use these corner clamps. I like them because, you know, yeah, you can try to get a nice 90 degree, but when you clamp it in there, it's very difficult to mess it up. So if you're not very good with making boxes, use the corner clamps. They help a lot. And make sure that you're drilling pilot holes, because if you try to screw this together, cedar will just break. I mean, it will literally just crack underneath the pressure of trying to drill without pilot holes. So I used some exterior screws. They were 1 1/4 inch. And after I drilled the pilot holes, it was pretty easy to get the screws in there. But again, go slowly, because if you go quickly, it will still, you know, crack your wood. You don't want that to happen. Okay, so the other two sides are connected, and now we just need to drill our pilot holes on these two sides, and then we have to do the second layer and then fill it with some dirt. Now, I'm not quite convinced that these are perfectly straight, but I did use my tape measure and I tried to measure 2.5 feet between the garden beds so that there's enough space to get through when we're trying to like weed them. So using the garden stakes, I put one at each corner, and then I did put some in the middle as well, measuring down about 32 inches. You can really make them as high as you'd like. It doesn't matter. But I wanted to make sure that they were going to be high enough for me to put some fencing around. And once I had them in place and, you know, was able to see how this was going to look, I mean, it was all falling down around me. I measured, made sure that it was even, and then I was able to adhere the other boards to the stakes. And again, you want to make sure that you're putting pilot holes because you don't want that wood to crack. I made my way around the garden beds, connecting the cedar to the stakes in the same manner, making sure I had the pilot holes and the exterior screws. Now here, a couple things. You do not have to use the 1x4 boards. I only use those because that's what I had on hand, but you can still use a 1x6. You can just kind of build it how you'd like. Another thing here, you'll notice that I'm drilling and screwing into the end of a board. Typically in woodworking, you don't do that because it's not a very strong connection. But for these, I figured, you know what, I'm just going to build it this way. Typically, you would use like a Craig jig, pocket hole jig or something, but you want to make sure that you're drilling and putting a face to a side or a face to a face. So you see here that I'm actually drilling into the side of the stake. That's a pretty strong connection. All right, feels pretty solid. Now let's finish off the other side, and we're done one. At this point, I needed my husband's help because you see the board like popping up here. It just did not want to stay down. It was warped. So when you go to the store to buy your wood, make sure that you get cedar boards that are not warped. There was not a big selection at my store, and so I ended up having to buy some that were warped and then, you know,
force them into place. So that's not ideal. Also, make sure you know exactly how many boards you'll need, because I ended up having to go back to the store because I didn't have enough cedar. Don't you hate when that happens?
So anyway, I went back to the store and I bought some more cedar. So today we're gonna finish this off. Try to, I don't know, the rain is not gonna hold off for too long, but we're gonna try to put some newspaper down here and then fill it with dirt, because we got some delivery earlier today for dirt. So let's get this thing done, because I'm ready to plant the kale, the cucumbers, the strawberries, all the stuff that I bought for these garden beds. So let's do it.
Here's a helpful tip. If you've got 2 power drills, I recommend that you use one for driving your bits and the other one for drilling the pilot holes. And the reason why is because if you have just one drill, you're gonna have to keep changing back and forth between driver bits and drilling bits, and it's a pain in the butt. Anyway, I finished this one exactly as I did the other one. It went a little faster because I kind of knew what I was doing at this point, and I was able to get it done to move on to the next step.
Okay, so I think this is all that we can do tonight. The rain is going to be coming in. We have at least built these. They're pretty steady, and I think I'm really excited to fill these up. Wow, some cat is getting mauled over there. Whoa, what is going on?
Never a dull moment in this neighborhood with all the stray cats here. So anyway, I had these leaf collection bags, and they were perfect for lining the bottom of these garden beds, making sure that the weeds and the grass didn't come up. And I wanted to get some help, so my little Kojo, my little 6-year-old, decided to help.
This one we can put here, because we definitely want to line these sides. We don't want any of the weeds creeping up through the sides.
Today I'm in Mommy's video.
You're in my video. I need to train you to be my cameraman. That's what I need to do. Put your little butt to work. Okay, so we got them lined, and now we're ready to put in the dirt. Oh, and it's just now starting to rain. Oh, come on, rain. I really thought it was gonna hold off for at least a little bit longer. So let's hurry up and get this dirt in here, and then figure out like when we're gonna do this planting. No, listen, I'm gonna lift it up and I want you to scoop it off in there. Wait. Hey, watch my head. I want this to be here. Yeah, shake it. Yeah, shake it like that. I do have to say, this is much better than using the baby stroller. All right. Oh, that is a lot of work. All right, now we have to dump this thing. Are you ready to shovel it out?
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm gonna lift it. Are you ready? Try to make sure it stays. Yep. What did you do?
I spit inside the dirt.
Do you think we really want to eat vegetables where you spit inside of it?
Mommy, when I'm finished with this, can I play electronics?
Which is hilarious, because right after that, he pretty much lost interest, and then I had to finish the job myself. And trust me, this was not easy. Whew, I'm tired now, so I don't have much time. My friend's having a birthday party tonight. So, and I'm not even wearing my mic, so I don't even know if you can hear me. We are going to plant these as quickly as possible and then put up some fencing. And I have mentioned this in other videos. I am in no way a gardener until now. Maybe I'm a novice gardener, but in the past things have just died on me, or I've neglected things and I've not watered it. And as I'm planting this, I was a little nervous about whether it was going to work, but I just had this moment of sheer joy that here I am planting this food for my family. I built this with my own 2 hands. I manually carried like load after load of dirt, and I got my kids involved. So it was not just great for me to do this for, myself and testing my limits, but also getting the family involved. It was a really special project. So the last step to protect the garden beds was to put some fencing around it. Now this one I liked because it was small enough that it would keep out rabbits, cats, deer. I think it would keep out the deer and maybe any mice that you might have in your neighborhood. So
I didn't really have a lot of time in order to put this together. I was on my way to my friend's party, so I put a couple temporary staples in there, bending it around the corners so that I could, you know, have a pretty good fit there. But later I found out that I really didn't have to go back and do much stapling in place. I want to be able to easily remove this, you know, when you're ready to harvest the food. I didn't want to have to bend over, and I didn't want to have to remove staples every single time. So I went ahead and just, you know, hooked. There was some little pieces of wire there and just hooked it. And overall, it looks pretty good. I do have fencing on both of them, and we have plants. Now let's just see if they survive.
Growing our own plants.
He is absolutely right. We are growing our own plants, and aren't I proud? Anyway, we've got some tomatoes, some kale, lettuce, some Brussels sprouts, and we still have a ton of space to grow things. So this is going to be a really fun adventure for the next couple of months. And remember those ferns that I planted the last video? Well, guess what? They're actually growing. So apparently I don't have as much of a black thumb as I thought, because they are sprouting like growing children. My new little babies. Anyway, if you enjoyed this project, please give it a thumbs up. Go back to thriftiving.com and subscribe, and check out RYOBI Landscapes, because if it weren't for them, a lot of these projects for the Outdoor Overhaul Makeover Challenge wouldn't have gotten done. So be sure to check them out and go back to thriftiving.com. I'll see you next video.